Good morning and a very warm welcome to all. It's a wonderful day and I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all presented
Yeah.
here to the national webinar on the simulation analysis of the rectifiers using MATLAB, organized by the Department of Physics of Sulam Salam Science College, Areekode. I'm sure that this webinar would be thought-provoking and useful to all the participants. In this session, we have Professor N.V. Abdurrahman Sir, Manager and a Syndicate Member of the University of Calicut, Dr. P. Muhammad Ilyas Sir, Principal of the Sulam Salam Science College, Mr. C. A. Shafiq Sir, Head of Department of Physics, Dr. Shanit Sir, and a very special chief guest, Mrs. Rin Shavi, a Senior Research Fellow in the Department of Electrical Engineering, NIT Calicut. I don't know whether I have missed anyone, but to all presented here, thank you all, and thank you, ma'am, for taking your time out to join this webinar, making this a spectacular day with all your presence. Thank you all for that. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. To keep the call functional, please do mute yourself. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please do drop them in the chat box. I'd like to invite Mr. C. A. Shafiq Sir, Head of Department of Physics, to address the welcome speech.
Let us begin the program. I have great pleasure to welcome our respected speakers for program and also distinguished participants from different colleges and universities. You know, this is a program which exposes the recent trends in electronics that is beneficial for physics students. Physics, basic electronics is familiar among all physics students. And also in our experimental physics, behind the measurement of any physical system ranging from say elasticity to superconductivity, behind any measurement electronic circuitry is involved. So fundamental knowledge in electronics is essential for all physicists, the students to research. And here we, through this webinar, we introduce some novel ways of electronic design, and our MATLAB also introduced. In order to enter the technical part of the session as early as possible, I am not at all prolonging the speech. As mentioned in the introduction, the program is to be inaugurated by our manager, Professor N.V. Abdurrahman Sahib, who is also a member of Calicut University Syndicate. He is a retired professor in electronics, and he had experience as a scientist in National Physical Oceanographic Lab. So he will be inaugurating this function. And also our principal is here to deliver presidential address. And Mrs. Rinsha V, the senior research fellow from NIT Calicut, is actually the chief resource person. Dr. Shani B here moderate the interaction session on program. For organizers, on behalf of the say Science College, welcome all respected speakers and distinguished participants to the program. Let me stop by reminding you, or say requesting you for active participation, and say requesting our principal, Dr. Muhammad Ilyas sir, deliver say his president's address.
Thank you, Shafiq sir and Aziza. Respected the head of the department and my colleagues, and the resource person of the Mrs. Rinsha, and my dear students. First of all, I would like to congratulate the Department of Physics for conducting such a program, such a webinar, having an interdisciplinary nature. This seminar has a specialty, you know. We have a special relation with the resource person. Though I am a student of, I am a graduate in physics. Later, I switched out to the computer science after my graduation. So I have very little connection with the electronics. But I understand that this particular program, this webinar, has a lot of common elements for physics, electronics, and as well as computer science students. And as you know, the simulation and the simulation analysis, etc., are finding momentum in these days, especially with the advancement of IT, in information technology. Yesterday, we had a meeting. We have a committee here called the Management Committee for Quality Assurance, headed by Dr. Shaukat Ali. He was a former professor of NIT Calicut, and he's worked in abroad also. And he was suggesting to set up a product design center using simulation. So he's working on that, and most probably within 1 year, I expect that we have such a center here in our college. And I don't want to prolong the speech. As the head of the institution, I welcome Rinsha for this program. And all the students, I request all the students to learn the maximum from this webinar. And we are also we are striving to do such webinars in this COVID era, period. And in the next, within 2 weeks, we will be having an international webinar on robotics and machine learning conducted by the computer science department. I hope so. So I don't want to prolong my speech. Let me stop now.
Thank you, sir. You have always been a supporting backbone to our college. Next, I'm privileged to invite Professor N.V. Abdurrahman, sir, the manager and a syndicate member of the University of Calicut, for the inaugural speech.
Principal Dr. Muhammad Ilyas and Head of Department of Physics, Professor Shafiq, and the resource person of this national webinar, Mrs. Rinsha V,
I request all of you
the
to
staff
mute
members,
yourself to keep the
students,
quality of the sound
and the
functioning.
guest faculty from other colleges and the students. See, I am very happy to learn that the Department of Physics, Sullam Salam Science College, Record, is organizing a national webinar on simulation analysis of rectifiers using MATLAB. Say, the Department of Physics had brought a number of feathers to the cap of Sullam Salam Science College. I congratulate the department for organizing this webinar. See, I am happy also that you have selected a very good topic which is very relevant nowadays. See, actually the simulation, see, whenever you look for the meaning of simulation, you will get different answers. That is, the acting, pretending, something like that. See, the actual meaning in practice of simulation is what if. If you do something, what will be the result? So actually the simulation is to create a mathematical model of a system or process, usually on a computer. And we can explore the behavior of that model by running a simulation. So this is meant by simulation. You know, This simulation is not only practical in the, electronics, it is applicable to anything in the world actually. Whatever you produce, even human body also. We can create simulations, the working of a heart, working of any organs inside our body. So, what was done actually in previous years back, hundreds of years back, see, when Thomas Alva Edison, when he invented the electrical bulb, he conducted a number of experiments in his house and failed actually. So actually he created the actual model, and see, it is a loss of time as well as it will loss of money, everything is there. So this was the condition, until this MATLAB and something like that introduced in 1970s. But it's actually came into practical only very recently. So this computer simulation is used in the creation of any machinery nowadays. So now here your topic is the simulation analysis of rectifiers. A rectifier is especially using a semiconductor diode. See, if you create a semiconductor diode, in previous days what you have to do is, you have to take a diode, you have to get a transformer, then you have to connect the diode in the secondary of the transformer, and when you apply the voltage, AC voltage in the primary, you will get a DC version of this voltage in the secondary. You can properly filter that also using capacitors, and you will get a smooth DC. See, the behavior you have to make yourself the first model. Then the behavior you can study in the oscilloscopes. That was, when I studied in that is, in 1965 to 70, that period. This was the method actually. In the lab we'll construct a rectifier or any circuits, electronic circuit. The behavior we can see in that. But now see, if simulation used, that is what if used, any component you can replace using this computer model. See, actually digital mathematical model. So using this system, it's very easy to make any alteration. So before making the final model, you can use this. See the rectifier, you are speaking about the ordinary AC to DC converting rectifiers. But in factories, largely in use, the rectifiers. Those rectifiers are actually thyristors or silicon controlled rectifiers, SCRs. So, the ordinary rectifier is a diode or a PN junction, a single junction. Whereas a thyristor is a PNPN. It has got 3 junctions. And so it is having a cathode, an anode, and a control gate. So, see, for large current requirements, for running motors, using the gate you can control the speed of the motor. So many applications are there. So diodes are used not only as rectifiers, it can be used as a switch, it can be used in control system. Several applications are. So this is a very good topic which you are learning today in this webinar. I once more congratulate the Department of Physics for organizing such a seminar, and with these words I declare that this meet is open. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now we are entering into the most awaited technical session of today. I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Shanit, sir, for introducing the resource person.
So I am very glad to introduce our resource person today. So Mrs. Rinsha V received her BTech degree with first rank in electrical and electronics engineering from Cochin University of Science and Technology, and MTech degree in power electronics and drives with the first position from Government College of Engineering, Kannur. She worked as assistant professor at M. Dasan Institute of Technology, Calicut, and also served as ad hoc faculty at National Institute of Technology, Calicut. She is currently a full-time research scholar in Electrical Engineering Department of National Institute of Technology, Calicut. Also, she had authored international journals and presented papers in reputed international and national conferences. So her research interests include condition monitoring, multi-level inverters for electric vehicles, machine learning, Internet of Things, etc. So with this very brief introduction, actually we are fortunate today to get this resource person as she is working currently in devices which are very useful for our power electrical engineering modalities. So I request Ms. Rensha V to take over the session. Thank you.
A warm good morning to one and all. So thank you, Shanit sir, for that wonderful introduction. And dear participants, first of all, before starting the technical session, let me thank with great gratitude to the organizers of this webinar who had given me this opportunity to share some of my knowledge with you. So today I'm here to take a session on simulation analysis of rectifiers using MATLAB. So this is the outline of my presentation. So first, we'll be moving through, that is, we all have knowledge about the rectifiers, the diode bridge rectifiers and the diodes, etc. So we'll just have an overlook through the diode bridge rectifier, the phase control rectifier, and then I'll give you an introduction about the MATLAB. Then we'll do the simulation of the rectifier, and we'll do some analysis part on that. And then we'll just study the effect on power factor by the rectifier. Okay. So rectifiers, we all know that it is a device that has been used to convert AC to DC. So in our scenario, which is present in India, we are having AC transmission systems. So we are having certain loads which require DC also. So a rectifier which converts AC to DC is a prerequisite in our utilities. So let me move back to the history of rectifiers. Peter Cooper Hewitt in 1902 invented mercury arc rectifiers. And it was further developed throughout the 1920s and 1930s by the researchers. And in this diagram just shows a mercury arc rectifiers from 1940s. This all I had included just for your information. So let me move on to the broad classification of the rectifiers. So rectifiers, on the basis of the DC output we'll get, it has been divided into uncontrolled rectifiers and controlled rectifiers. Uncontrolled rectifier means the DC output voltage is always a constant. You cannot vary the magnitude of the DC output voltage you obtain from the rectifier. And controlled rectifier means you can vary the output of the DC voltage that you are obtaining from the rectifier. So both this uncontrolled and controlled rectifiers are of two types. It is half wave and full wave. So this show a block diagram representation of a uncontrolled rectifier. The AC supply has been given. It consists of a transformer, which is required for stepping down the voltage, a diode bridge rectifier, and a filter circuit. So these diagram and these theories will be familiar to you, but I'll give a brief introduction about these things. So this is a half wave rectifier circuit and D is the diode. Okay. So whenever a positive half cycle, when we are applying an AC signal to the input, whenever the positive half cycle happens, the diode D will be forward biased and thus that positive voltage, positive half cycle reaches the load. Okay. Here for simplicity, I'm using resistive load. So the current will be Vm by R. And whenever a negative half cycle happens, the diode will be reverse biased and it acts like an open switch. Okay, so the voltage across the load during the negative half cycle, pi to 2 pi will be 0. And during that time, the current will also not flow. And so what is meant by peak inverse voltage? Peak inverse voltage is the voltage that is applied across the, that happens to be occur across the diode whenever it is in reverse bias position. So VD shows the voltage across the diode. So here the peak inverse voltage is, the maximum peak inverse voltage is Vm. That is the magnitude, maximum magnitude of the input voltage. So next we are having full wave. Full wave, there are two types, central tap rectifier and bridge rectifier. This shows the central tap rectifier. And in central tap rectifier, we are having two diodes, D1 and D2. And during the positive half cycle, D1 will be forward biased, okay, and D1 conducts. And the current flow as shown in the diagram. The direction is shown as in the diagram. And during the negative half cycle, D2 conducts and the current flow in the same direction itself. So unlike the half wave rectifier, the two half waves, that is the positive half cycle and the negative half cycle of the input AC wave is being rectified. So here the name full wave rectifier has been used. And the main thing you had to note, you might be knowing that the peak inverse voltage across each diode will be 2 times the Vm. And next is the bridge rectifier. Bridge rectifier, unlike central tap rectifier, there is no requirement of the central tapped transformer. And here you will be using 4 diodes instead of 2 diodes. So 2 diodes will conduct simultaneously. Okay, so during the positive half cycle, according to the figure, D1 and D2 will be forward biased and it will conduct. And during the negative half cycle, D3 and D4 will be forward biased and it will conduct. So here also both the half cycles, that is positive and negative half cycle, will be conducting, and hence the name full wave rectifier. And then here one important difference other than the central tap is the peak inverse voltage of diode is not twice Vm, it is only Vm. That is, it is the maximum magnitude of the AC signal. So I told earlier itself, that is the diode. In uncontrolled rectifier, you are not able to control the output DC voltage, the magnitude of the DC output according to your requirement. So we are moving on to, in our household purposes, it is okay, battery charging and all, always we require a constant voltage, DC voltage. But if you are moving on to industrial things, for speed control of DC motors and etc., phase control rectifier is a thing that has been used there. There, instead of diodes, we are using thyristors. So the question arises, what is meant by the thyristors? So thyristor is defined as it constitutes 3 or more PN junctions, and it has 2 stable state on and off, and it can be changed from one state to another. Okay, so our diode is not coming under the thyristors. It is having only 1 PN junction, right? So thyristor is a group. So in that group, we are having many different devices like triarc, diarc, switch control, silicon control switch, programmable unijunction transistor, gate turn-off transistor, etc. But out of that, SCR, that is silicon control rectifier, is the oldest one, and it is the thing that has been widely used. So synonymously, that instead of SCR, we use thyristor also. Okay, so why SCR? That is why the name SCR. These are all familiar, but I'm just polishing it or just refreshing it so that we can understand the concept very clear. Okay, so why SCR is, silicon means it is being constructed by using silicon material, and control rectifier means it do the rectifier action by which you can control the magnitude of the DC output you have been getting from the rectifier output. Okay. So this shows a circuit simple and schematic diagram of the thyristor, that is SCR. It is a PN device. So, and it is having 3 terminals, anode, cathode, and gate. So first PN, there is a junction J1, then NP, there is a junction J2, and next towards the cathode, there is junction J3. So you can define the working, that you can see the IV characteristics. It is somewhat similar to diode itself, but the main difference is there in the first quadrant. Okay, so I'll explain the IV characteristics. First of all, you are having the reverse blocking mode. And in the reverse blocking mode, what happens is that the anode is made negative with respect to cathode, and we are not giving any gate voltage. Okay, during that time, you can see anode is negative with respect to cathode. So the junction J1 and J3 will be reverse biased, and junction J2 will be forward biased. So there is a small reverse leakage current existing, but that will not turn on the thyristor. The thyristor will act like an open switch. Okay, unless that reverse voltage become greater than the reverse breakdown voltage, it happens to be the current increases steeply. This is similar to the diode characteristics itself, which is familiar to you. Okay, next mode of operation is forward blocking mode. That is, anode is made positive with respect to cathode, but no gate voltage is being supplied. Okay, whenever anode is made positive with respect to cathode, J1 and J3 become forward biased and J2 is reverse biased. So since J2 is reverse biased, there is a depletion region that has been formed in that region. Okay, so if you are applying that forward voltage greater and greater, it happens to reach a position where the applied forward voltage is greater than the breakover voltage, then avalanche breakdown takes place at junction J2, and the thyristor will move to the point where called holding current that point, and it will start to conduct. Okay, so this is called the first session where the voltage was less than the forward breakover voltage is called the forward blocking mode, and the conducting mode is called the forward conduction mode. So here what is happening is that you can convert a thyristor from forward blocking mode to forward conducting mode in two ways. Either you can give a gate circuit, either you can give a gate signal, or else you can give a voltage that has been greater than the forward breakover voltage. Okay, usually we used to give a gate signal to move into the forward conduction mode. So these are the different thyristors which has been available. So the small thing is the lead mounted. That is here. This is for, it has been used for low current rating so that no heat sink is required for heat dissipation. And the second one that has been shown here is the bolt mounted. So a small heat sink may be required. And whenever the current rating increases, we are using stud package or a diamond package where a greater heat sink can be utilized. So this and all, I had to just show that these are the different SCRs present and which has been used in industries. So we'll move on to the rectifier part by using the thyristor. So this first of all, I'll show you the half wave rectifier. The circuit is similar to that of the half wave uncontrolled rectifier. The only difference is that here we have been replacing the diode with a thyristor T1. And so whenever the positive half cycle comes, the thyristor is forward biased. Okay, but the thyristor will not conduct unless and until the voltage is greater than the breakover voltage or a gate signal is being given, gate is being triggered. Okay, so mostly in industries we used to give gate signal because sometimes the forward breakover voltage will be 800 volt and normal working voltage will be 400 volt. So every time during the operation, the thyristor will be in the forward blocking mode itself. So to avoid that, we'll be using gate triggering method. Okay, so here also at the point 0, which is seen in the waveform, here the positive half cycle happens and thus the thyristor is forward biased, but we are giving the triggering only at an instant alpha. Okay, alpha is called the firing angle, which has been defined as the measurement, the angle between the instant the thyristor is forward biased and the instant it starts conducting. That is, the gate is being triggered. You can also define it as angle between the instant the thyristor will conduct if it was a diode. Okay, if it was a diode, it will start conduct at 0 itself. and the instant when the gate triggering is being given. Okay, so by controlling this value of alpha, you can control the DC output voltage. So if you are deriving the VDC output, you can obtain the equation like Vm by 2 pi into 1 plus cos alpha for this one. So as cos alpha is being varying, you can vary the VDC output also. So this shows the full wave bridge rectifier. That is also the operation is similar to that of the this bridge rectifier, uncontrolled bridge rectifier. The difference is that T1 and T2 will be triggered similar in order to make it conducting, and T3 is T4 will be triggered together in order to make it conducting during the negative half cycle. So during the positive half cycle of the input supply, T1 and T2 will be forward biased, and once it start conducting whenever it is given a triggering, a gate triggering, and both this should be given same gate triggering. Okay, the alphas should be same for T1 and T2, and T3 and T4 will be given a triggering pulse whenever it is forward biased with the negative half cycle of the waveform. So freshening up that rectifier circuits, the uncontrolled and controlled rectifiers, we can move into simulation parts. So simulation, I'm doing it in MATLAB simulation. You can do in any other simulation software. Many open source software are there. But since I am being familiar with MATLAB simulation, and to make you familiarize that, to design and model many different circuits, not only rectifier, these are the basic circuits, that is rectifiers. To model any difficult circuit, you can use a simulation. Instead of doing a prototype, that is, instead of doing a hardware prototype, you can move on to simulation software, and so that you can design, you can model, and you can analyze everything by changing different parameters and everything, and check the model before you make it as an hardware. Okay, that will decrease your, that will help you to decrease the time you have spent on it hardware prototyping, and also will decrease the cost also. So MATLAB, its name is Metrics Laboratory. The name comes from Metrics Laboratory. So as it has been Metrics Laboratory, the computation and everything has been done in the form of metrics and arrays. Okay, so it is a desktop environment, and in the desktop, you can import data, you can define different variables, and you can perform calculations also. So whenever you open a MATLAB environment, you'll be having a command window, the workspace, and the variable editor will be there. Okay, and different data that you are having can be visualized by using plots, that are different types of plots that have been available in the MATLAB. So you can, MATLAB is very user friendly, so that if you're having any built-in function you are not aware of, you can just type with help that built-in function. It will give you a documentation about that, which are the functions and how to use that, and how you have to give an input variable, etc. So in MATLAB, I am using here the Simulink product. The Simulink product is such that you can use, it is a graphical user interface based model, and here you can use blocks. That is, the diode will be a block, the load resistor will be a block, and the pulses and everything will be a block. And these blocks can be joined together to form your system, so that you can simulate it, you can define, you can change the parameters in the blocks, etc. So here you can use either linear, non-linear system, you can work it in continuous mode, discrete time, etc. So we are going to work with MATLAB Simulink. Okay, so we are just, as a preliminary, you are going to work with the rectifier circuit in MATLAB Simulink. So let me open the MATLAB part. Hope the window is clear. So whenever you open a MATLAB, you will be getting a window like this. And this window is the command window. Okay, it has been written in the top. It is the command window. And here you have to take the current folder in which you have been working. Okay, default, it will be moving to the, that is, it will be showing the folder where the MATLAB document will be there. So I had changed it to the folder by changing here, by clicking here, you can change it to the folder where your files are being kept. Okay, so this is a workspace where the variable will be there and their inputs will be shown. Okay, so here you are having variables because I had already simulated different things so that we can save our time. Within the stipulated time, we will not be able to do each and everything. So I had already simulated some part here. So moving on to Simulink, what we had to do is you had to take new from here. Okay, Simulink model. Click on that. You'll be getting an untitled window. I'll just share it with you. Okay, so this is the Simulink window you are going to do. So before moving into the rectifier, in order to make you familiarize about the different blocks and everything, I'm just making a simple model here. So you can see the square things that is called library browser. So using this library browser, you can take the elements, the blocks which you require by drag and drop operation of the mouse. So I'm clicking this. So by clicking the library browser, I'll get a window like this. Okay, so this shows Simulink and different other products like Aerospace, Blockset, Communication System, Simscape, many other tools which you require is also been here. So I am using Simulink here. Okay, so from Simulink source, I'm taking a sine wave. Okay, see, you can see a sine wave here. So I'm just clicking on it, I'm dragging it to my Simulink model window. It has already reached there. See this? The sine wave has reached in the Simulink model window. Okay. Next, in order to view the sine wave, I need a scope, like oscilloscope in hardware. We are using oscilloscope, right? Like that, we need a scope. So from sync, I can select the scope and I'm dragging it to there. Okay, it has reached there. And next, I'm taking a gain block so that I'm giving a gain to the sine wave. Okay, a gain block also. So these are the models that I'm taking for this simple demonstration. So see this. So in the Simulink model window, you are having a sine wave, a gain, and a scope. So I'm just dragging it and positioning it. And now I have to connect these blocks. So I am keeping my mouse cursor at the output of the sine wave and connecting it to the input of the gain. Okay, there is a line connected. And now in order to connect between gain and scope, output of the gain to the input of the scope. Okay, so this is the thing. Now you had connected it. Now I can just see what is being there in the sine wave block. So there is amplitude is there, bias is there, frequency is there. So I'm just changing my frequency to 2 pi. Okay, and then you can put apply and okay. The gain is 1 itself and the scope has been there. And this shows the 10 shows the simulation time in seconds. So for 10 seconds the simulation run. So I'm just reducing it. For reducing the simulation time, I'm using 2 here. Okay, so the setup is okay. Now I'm going to simulate it. How you can simulate it? Here you can see a play button, right? Green play button. You can just click on it. Okay, the thing has been simulated. Now, in order to visualize the thing, you can use the scope. You can double click on the scope. I'll share the scope with you. Okay, this is the scope that you had obtained. I'm just auto scaling it. That is making the scaling perfect automatically. Just auto scaling it. Here you can either zoom it in the x-axis, zoom it from the y-axis, and everything is possible here. So this is the sine wave you had seen. So you had seen from the sine wave block itself, its amplitude was 1, right? Okay, you had got a perfect sine wave for 2 seconds. Okay. Next, I am trying to change the gain. I'm clicking on the gain button, and here it is having a value 1. So I'm changing it by 5. Okay, then apply and OK. I'm just simulating it again. Its simulation is completed. I'm clicking on the scope. See this? The scope, that is the sine wave, has been amplitude has been incremented by 5 times. So it has become 5 here. So this is a way, that is, this shows a simple way how you can implement a model in Simulink. So using like this, I had already done models for half-wave rectifier controlled and uncontrolled, full-wave rectifier controlled and uncontrolled and all. We'll have a look into that. This is the Simulink model for the half-wave uncontrolled rectifier. So half-wave uncontrolled rectifier will be having an AC source, which is Vs, and a diode, okay? And R load is being used here. Then V in and V out, these are called the voltage measurement units, which have been used to measure the input voltage, and V out is the voltage measurement unit, which have been used to measure the output voltage, and the scope is here to see the outputs. Okay, so we'll see from where you are getting all these things. So by taking the Simulink model window, you can take the Simulink library browser, and from there you'll have Simscape here. You click on it. There you are having SimPower system, specialized technology, and there you are having different items. That is, power electronics is here. And from this power electronics, you can either, if you are doing an uncontrolled rectifier, you can drag and drop the diode. If you are using a controlled rectifier, you can drag and drop the thyristor part. Okay, so this has been obtained from here. And next, you need the load, right? So for load part, you can take the series RLC branch, you can drag and drop there. You can change it into either R, L, inductance or capacitance, resistance, inductance or capacitance, or both, or 3 of them together. You can make whatever is your requirement. Okay, then what was the thing? Okay, it was measurement block, right? You can use the measurement here, and you can take, if it is emitter part you have been doing, you can take the current measurement, which is to be connected in series with the circuit. And if you are doing the voltage measurement, you can use the voltage measurement block. Okay, so these are the things. And one different thing that you had seen here is the power guide block. So the power guide block is, I'll show you the power guide block. See, this is the power guide block. So the power guide block is it is to provide, power guide means power GUI, that is, it is to provide the environment for the Simulink to use the SimPower system. I had already taken the items diode, resistance, and V out and everything from the SimPower system from Simscape. So in order to use that, you have to use an environment, and that environment is being provided by the power guide block. Okay, so using the power guide block, you can make the system either continuous, discrete, and you can do the different analysis on the system like steady state analysis, FFT, fast Fourier transform can be obtained to obtain the harmonics and all. So we'll do that later. That is, we'll be using the power guide for FFT in the later slides. Okay, so this is the half-wave rectifier circuit we have been having. I'd already run it. So this is the scope. I'll share the scope with you. This is a scope I had obtained, and the first waveform shows the input voltage, that is 230 volt, and the second one give you the output voltage. It is half-wave rectifier, as we had already seen. Then this shows the voltage and current from the diode, and the voltage across the diode is during conduction will be 0, and when it is reverse bias, it will be the maximum. Okay, so that shows the current also. So you can see like the rectifier is working as that has been studied in the theory part itself. Okay, so we'll just move with this, and I'll just move on to the diode forward full wave rectifier. So this is the diode full wave rectifier, and here also the same things only. So no need of introducing the different blocks. Here we are using 4 diodes, D1, D2, D3, and D4. The operations are familiar to you. And here let me introduce you to the diode block. Here we are having an R-on resistant is there, which is having 0.001 value. You can change the value according to your wish, according to your design requirement. And here we are having an extra connection between the diode, right? One box type, that is one resistance has been there. It is a snubber circuit, that is a snubber resistance and capacitance is connected in series. This is for protection of the diode from the unwanted switching on. Okay, when extra dV by dt comes, that is for protection. So if you have to avoid that, means you can give snubber resistance as infinity and snubber capacitance to 0, so that thing will be avoided. Okay, so let me have a check into the scope. You have to get a full wave rectified output, right? So this is the output from the uncontrolled full wave rectifier. Okay, this is the input voltage you have been giving, and this is the rectified output. So as you know, the frequency is being doubled, okay, in the output. Now we can move on to the controlled part. Control is having some difference. You have to trigger the thyristor. So, and you have to give a the firing angle alpha limit also. So this is the diagram for the control half wave rectifier. Similar, that we have used a thyristor which we obtained. I had shown from Simulink library browser. You can use a sim power system, power electronics, and from there you can take the thyristor. So thyristor, which is having 3 terminals, A, K, and the gate signal. So here there is an extra element, that is pulse generator. That is a box in the source part. From where you took the sine wave source part, you can get the pulse generator, and in the pulse generator you have been setting the value of the delay angle. So I'm clicking on the pulse generator. So pulse generator is having the amplitude, its period, I'm taking it as 0.02. The pulse width is 50. Pulse width is the ratio between T on and the period where it is on and the total period of the wave. And the phase delay, here I am giving the delay in seconds. So I'm giving an alpha angle of 30-degree delay. So I'm writing it as 30 by 360 into 0.02 to convert it into seconds. Okay. So if that alpha is 0, then you will get the same waveform as that of the diode rectifier. Since alpha has been 30-degree here, we'll check how the output waveform has been coming. So this is the output voltage waveforms. This is the input voltage waveform. The first one is the input voltage waveform, and the second one is the output voltage waveform. You can see that delay, that in between 0 and 30, that delay part is occurring because you are giving a delay alpha. That is, at that instant only you are firing up the thyristor. Then only the conduction starts. Till that time, that reverse voltage, that voltage is been there across the thyristor, which can be seen from the third flow diagram, third waveform. Okay, so this is the thing. This is how you are going to model the rectifiers. I'll just show you the control full wave rectifier also. And remember, these, after modeling all of this, you have to press the simulation button, and then only you'll be getting the output. Simulation, because of this time constraint, I'm already simulated it. That's why I'm just clicking the scope and showing you the output. Okay, so next we are having the full wave rectifier, control full wave rectifier, bridge rectifier is there. So you know that T1 and T2 should be switched on. That is, it should be triggered simultaneously. So I'm using a pulse generator, and I'm using a label here, that is go to block I'll just click on it. It is having a tag. The tag I had given is T1, T2. So whatever pulse generator signal is being produced, that will be going to the go-to block with the tag T1, T2. And if I want to fetch that signal, I can use a from block. This is the from block. So from block with the same tag T1, T2. So that is like a connection. That is pulse generator is giving its signal to the go-to, and from go-to, if I had to fetch something, I have to take the from label, which is having the same tag. Okay. So like that, I am connected T1, T2 to the T1, T2 thyristors and T3, T4 to the T3, T4 thyristors. I'll just show you the pulse generator wave, how I had connected. The amplitude, period, and everything is same as the other itself. The alpha is 30 by 360. So I'm giving a delay of 30 degree. And the next second set, I'm giving a delay of 30 degree, but we have to write it as 180 plus 30, that is 210. Okay. So I'll just show you the scope. So this is the scope. This is as required. That is, we have been giving a delay of 30 degree for the two thyristors, and you have got a full wave control rectifier. Next, you would have studied that this DC output, that is, which is having a high amount of ripple, it has been transmitting, it has been repulsating between 0 and the maximum value, right? The 0 and the 230 volt or 12 volt or whatever be the maximum peak value of the DC, it has been transmitting between that. So in order to avoid that, you have to use a filter. So you will be using C filter, L filter, LC filter, or different combination, pi, T, and every different combinations are there. So here I had just used a series. Anyway, C filter will be there. So I just used LC filter here. So L I am using a value of 0.3 millihenry, and C I am using here value of 1200 microfarad. And I'll just show you how it comes, how it works, and how the scope will be. See, this is the output voltage. So instead of that ripple from 0 to 14 volt ripple, high ripple, it has been changed a little. Okay, you can change the capacitance value more to get a more apt and more constant DC output voltage. In order to show that the variation, I just use these values. And so this is the this is the AC input, and this is the DC output we get after connecting the filter. Okay. So now we'll move on. We have to see more on this analysis part. And one more thing I had to say here is, by seeing that is output voltage waveform, you can get the maximum value, VM value. So by getting the V maximum value of the output or the input output waveform, you can calculate the DC average value, the RMS value, and etc. from the equations we have. Okay. So every performance parameters can be calculated from the waveforms. So now before going into deep, let me move on to the other session. That is, we are moving on to some more aspects of the rectifiers. So you all know about power factor, right? So what will be coming to our mind when we hear about power factor? Power factor means it is a cosine of the angle between the voltage and the current. So we had studied like for resistive load, the voltage and current will be in same phase. So the phi will be 0 and it will be having unity power factor. And inductive load, it will be having a 90-degree lag will be there. So it will be having a lagging power factor. And for capacity load, it will be having a leading power factor. So by drawing the power triangle, if real power, that is VI cos phi, voltage current into cos phi is the real power, that is the active power that has been used by us for doing the work, and the reactive power, which is the power either delivered to the system or taken by the system for assisting, right? So it is in kVAR, VI sin phi. And when you draw the power triangle, you can get like, if power factor angle is this one, so cos phi is equal to active power or real power by the apparent power. Okay, so these all things of the power factor happens only when the voltage and current in the circuit are purely sinusoidal. Okay, so that power factor concept is clear to us, right? So we are considering this diagram. Here, the first thing is the output volt, the voltage, input voltage is here, and the input current is this one. So see this, the input current is not purely sinusoidal. Okay, so when you're considering about these things, what is the power factor? If you're considering cos phi, that is the angle between voltage and current, the current is in phase with the voltage here. So the power factor will be unity here. But considering this is the THT FFT output, by considering the FFT output, you can see that the harmonic level, that is for 1 shows the fundamental value, fundamental signal, 3 show the third harmonic signal amplitude, 5 shows the fifth harmonic signal amplitude, and so on. So the harmonic values are high here. If it was a power factor unity signal or a perfect signal, it will be having a fundamental. Sinusoidal signal means it will be having a fundamental value on it. So you have to, for these signals, you have to modify the power factor. And that modification is power factor. One more variable is being multiplied with the cos phi, that is cos theta, that is called the distortion power factor. Distortion power factor means, here distortion power factor is defined as IS1 by IS, where IS1 is the, from the figure it is clear, it is the RMS value of the fundamental value, fundamental component of the signal. Okay, and IS is the RMS value of the signal. RMS value of the non-sinusoidal signal is IS, and IS1 is the fundamental value of the signal. If the signal was purely sinusoidal, IS1 will be equal to IS, and the power factor will be cos phi itself. That is cosine of the displacement, that will be displacement power factor itself. But if it is not purely sinusoidal, you have to use this equation, cos theta is equal to IS1 by IS. And this is the Fourier series representation, that is a non-sinusoidal signal can be represented by the fundamental waveform and its harmonics. So I had, in between, I had used something like harmonics, total harmonic distortion, etc. Total harmonic distortion means it is a measurement, that is how much harmonic is being present. It is a measure of the harmonic present in the circuit. And harmonics, if it has been present in a circuit, means in a utility grid, means it will interfere with the other circuits and it will cause problems. It will be causing increase in losses, etc. So THT, it is the quadratic sum of the unwanted harmonics. So unwanted harmonics, only IS1 is being required to us, other all things are unwanted. So its quadratic sum over the fundamental value is the THT. So if you are doing this calculation, 1 by df distortion factor, that is IS1 by IS. So, and you are transforming it into the equation for power factor, you will be getting the equation as power factor is equal to cos phi displacement power factor by root of 1 plus THT square. So from this equation, you can make it clear that if the power factor is high, the THT will be low. So higher power factor and lower harmonics will be going hand to hand. Okay, so you can just remember the figure which I have shown, that is a sine wave voltage and a non-sinusoidal voltage current, and it was having a higher THT, that is the harmonics was greater there. This was because the power factor is not high there, so the harmonics will be higher there. So in order to reduce the harmonic, you had to bring the power factor to a higher value. So you will be thinking like, why I'm talking about this in the session that has been already discussing about rectifiers, simulation and everything. So we'll move on to that. So I had again moved on to the central tap diode rectifier with with a filter here. So I had intentionally kept an means voltage measurement and current measurement unit here. This is for measuring the input voltage and the input current. For the AC to DC rectifier, the power factor come in the input part, right? There only AC is been there. So V in and IS. So I'm checking the scope. See this? This is the input voltage you have been taking, and this is the input current. See the input current? The input current is non-sinusoidal. It is having a peak at the about at the center point, right? This peak is there because it is because of the capacitor action. That is a filter capacitor action. You know that filter capacitor, it will be means it will charge. The capacitor property is like that. It will charge and discharge. That will be like a transient, like. So it will be charging whenever a positive half cycle come, it will charge to Vm, and then it will discharge. It will slowly discharge, and then it will till that time it will be taking the load. It will take care of the load, and after some time, and during this period only, it will be taking an input current to charge it by itself, and then it again take care of the load. So it is because of that filter capacitor and its properties, you are having a power factor deterioration at the input part of the rectifier. Okay, and this power factor deterioration, as we had already discussed, will increase the harmonics. So THD will be increased and the harmonic will be increased, and that will cause different effect in the to the utility. So we had to see whether the F frequency is, means the THD has been increasing or not. So now I'll show you how in MATLAB you can check the THD. So for that purpose, in the scope settings, in the history part, I had done save data to workspace. This will not be done default. You have to do it before the simulation. If you are going to analyze a signal that has been obtained in the scope, before the simulation, you have to tick this point, save data to workspace. Okay, and you have to give a variable name. I'm giving its name as central tap current input, and you have to store it in a structure format. Okay, so I had already done this. And now after the simulation, I told you about the power guide block. So we are clicking on it, power guide block.
On this application. Okay. So we'll even if some strain.
So this is the window I obtained by clicking the power guide block. Here we are having different configured parameters. That is, by clicking here, you can change it to either continuous, discrete mode and all. Then different analysis can be done here. Here I am using the FFT analysis, Fourier transform. That is, you all might be familiar about the fast Fourier transform. It is like discrete Fourier transform itself, but using a different algorithm so that the frequency sample signal can be obtained much faster. Okay, then I'm clicking on FFT analysis. I'll show the FFT analysis window. So once I click the FFT analysis, I got this window. And here you can put a name is central tapped current input, and input 1, input 2 is there. Input 1 of the scope was input voltage, right? So I had to check input current harmonics. So input 2, I'm selecting input 2. So the selected signal changed to the input current value. And now I am checking the sorry, there was an So I'm using the frequency is 50 Hertz, maximum frequency is 1000. So I'm using a bar method. So I'm pressing display here. So see this. So the THT you have obtained here is 86.37. So when we consider a scenario with India, we have been following IEEE 519 standard. IEEE is an institution for electrical and electronics engineer, and they have been creating a report based on that is what is the harmonic extent or what is the THT that has to be present so that for the smooth running of the utility grids. So the range for the current THT is 2.5 to maximum 20% depending upon the capacity of the circuit. So here the THT you are obtaining is 86.37%, and that is very much large. Okay. So I'm closing this. So I had to just show that the rectifier, all the rectifier which are having a, without filter rectifier, we cannot use it. So which are having a filter circuit, you will be facing this problem of power factor deterioration. So in order to avoid that power factor deterioration, you require to use some power factor correction methods, that is power factor correction means that input current waveform has to be made sinusoidal. So the power factor correction method will be in result correcting the waveform, that is the waveform structure of the input current. So you are having, I'm not going to discuss all these, but I'm giving you a glimpse that if you are going to do a research or going to do a project, you can just go into this power factor correction method. That is the simple circuit rectifier is having such a big problem. So the more the problem associated with the complex circuit will be more complex. So by using by designing a perfect power factor correction circuit, you can come over this problem of power factor and deterioration and harmonic introduction into the utility grid. Okay, so I'll just give you a glimpse. That is here you are having two methods for power factor correction. Either you can use a passive power factor correction method, or you can use a active power factor correction method. Okay, so in passive power factor correction method, what you are doing is that you will be using passive elements like inductance, capacitance, etc. will be used in the top front part near to the input source. And in active power factor correction method means in between the filter and the rectifier, you will be using boost converter, buck converter, or different converters with different control techniques. And you can rectify you can shape the input voltage that has been coming from the input current that has been coming from the utility grid. So this was the thing I had to convey to you. I had to convey to you, means I had to show you that how the things has been happening in case in the utility grid in the simple circuit of rectifier. So first of all, we had just studied about rectifier part, the uncontrolled, controlled. Then you had studied the MATLAB simulation, and just for a simple circuit we had studied it, and you can extend that part to the complex circuits, complex control algorithms and everything. And this figure here shows by incorporating a power factor correction, we had changed the current, that is the input current, we had shaped to a sinusoidal one, and that THT you can see here, that is the harmonics level has been drastically decreased here. Okay, so these were the things I would like to convey with you. And we had studied, like I think you had made idea, like if the higher the power factor, the harmonics can be reduced. And researchers are trying for designing appropriate PFC stages. That is, the PFC stage should be appropriate in the sense that the maximum circuit standby power should be minimum, and its operating efficiency should be higher. And if the power factor itself improves, means the EMI issues and everything will be reduced. Okay, so you can use these design techniques using MATLAB simulation for all these design works. And you know that a PFC is the measure of success of PFC. You can do it by harmonic content measurement by using THT. And many different simulation platforms are there where you can means where you can simulate it, where you can model it, where you can design your converters or your inverters or anything, and you can do the analysis for every part. You can change the load values, you can change the input value, you can change the firing angle values and everything. You can use a simulation platform for good assistance for the modeling part. So hope I think that this webinar will may be helpful to you. You might have get some glimpse of research ideas or project ideas from it. So I'm winding up here. And if you're having any queries, you can just ping me at rinshaibrahim12@gmail.com. I'm always happy to help if it's within my capacity.
So, thank you, Rinsha, for this wonderful presentation, and hope all of you familiarized with the importance of even a simple as well as very fundamental circuit in electronics, that is rectifier. And if you are ready to extend any simple concept to any extent with a research mind, you can find many interesting factors in that itself. So that is the view I am getting from this presentation. Okay, thank you, Rinsha, for your sharing. So now this presentation is open for discussion, and you can ask questions, queries, or clarifications, if any. So one participant, Sanjana P, you can ask question. Sanjana.
Hello.
Okay, you ask question.
I have no question, but I have a doubt.
Okay, Sanjana.
Is importance of power guide. I can't understand that.
No, it's just like means you are taking a diode, right? So diode means what has been happening inside that block. Diode block means there are several equations, that is a diode based equation, and everything has been already set there, and that has been encapsulated for user reference as a block there. So if you are using these things in your model, you had to give certain assistance, like what was the initial value and what was the environment for working of that diode. So these all things have been incorporated in PowerGuide. It is the main part of the Simulink, where you are using the SimPower system modules. So this diodes, thyristors, and everything is coming under SimPower system module. So if you are using a SimPower system module in MATLAB, you have to use the PowerGuide. That is only for providing an environment. Okay. So in all the simulation that I had done, I had used continuous means mode of operation. So if you have to change that mode of operation also, you can use the PowerGuide. And this PowerGuide means that is not a simple block. Inside that block, there is a lot of circuits, means models has been there, and that block enable you to do other analysis on the input that has been obtained from the scope and stored in the workspace. Hope that has been clear. And if you're having further doubts means about PowerGuide, means you can just go through www.mathworks.com and you can just type PowerGuide.
Hello.
Okay, you will get. Hello, is it clear? Am I audible?
Oh, ma'am, will your email ID www dot?
Website ID is www.mathworks, mathworks.com.
Okay.
You'll get all assistance there. And if you are having any further doubt, you can mail me also.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
ഹാൻഡ് ചെയ്താരുണ്ടോ? So I think in Sanjana's doubt, the clarity is to be given in GUI, graphical user interface also. So can you give some more idea about that?
Oh, okay, sir. According to my knowledge, I feel like GUIs means using the graphical block diagram things, you can do the simulation. So Simulink is been working on GUI based things. Okay, so since we are been using blocks and different blocks to simulate here, you have to means initiate, that is the input variables of these blocks, and the analysis and everything has been done in Power GUI. So in order to assess the GUI, this Power GUI has been there.
Okay, thank you. Chat box la endeലും വന്നോ? Okay, one query is there in chat box from Suhana. Where are we use Thyristor in home applications?
Actually, in home application, we are using diode rectifiers. Mostly, we are using diode rectifier itself. So you can, for speed control of motor-based, DC motor-based things only, we'll be using the thyristor base. So mostly it has been used in industries itself. Hope that clears Suhana's doubt.
Okay. If you want to ask any question, you unmute your microphone and ask questions. So if there is no any further queries, then we will wind up this session. So I request Azza to carry further. So okay, so one more question. So is power factor correction method is the fundamental method or not?
If so, one more question, please.
It's from
One more
Sanjana
time.
itself. Okay.
Is power factor
Is power
correction
factor correction method is the fundamental method or not?
means?
Is there
Can I
any
speak to Sanjana?
other methods?
Fundamental methods means, is there any other method to control harmonics?
Yeah, is there any other method or any more fundamental method is there to
No, power
correct
factor
this?
is the basic thing itself. That is most fundamental thing, because it has been happening at the input side itself. So if you are rectifying a problem at that starting point itself, you will be able to means get more efficiency, right? So power factor correction, I didn't get that question correctly. She asking like
So I think power factor correction we are using FFT there, isn't it?
no, power factor correction, we are not using FFT. We are just using FFT to check how that power factor has been corrected, whether that harmonics has been reduced or not.
Yes, so these two steps are two different steps, isn't it, in the procedure?
Okay, so she might be asking like whether FFT is the only way to check power factor correction or not.
Yes, is there any alternative?
Hello?
Alternative there to
I think Sanjana is
find
there.
this one? Yeah.
Ma'am,
Sanjana, please respond.
Is
Yes.
any alternative method?
Instead of FFT, is there any alternative method?
Yes.
Yes, you can calculate THD, right? Means but a THD equation itself tells like you have to calculate each, that is each frequency, what is the value of the signal, and that thing you have to calculate anyway to calculate the THD. Okay, so if you are calculating that means each signal which is the value, means each frequency which is the signal value, that is itself is frequency transform.
It's only the simplest method.
That is the FFT means Fourier transform. You can use DFT or FFT, but FFT is the most fastest and simplest method.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
So you carry on.
Ma'am, is there anything you want to cover before we wrap up?
No, I have to tell the participants that if they are having any queries, that is simple queries, which or many complex queries which I can answer, means they can either mail me. I had already told my mail ID. It's rinshaibrahim12@gmail.com. I'll respond to it. I'll try to respond. I'll try to clear their doubts. They can contact me by mail. Okay, so I would, before winding up, let me thank all the organizers and for giving me this opportunity, and also I would like to thank the participants for their patience in listening to this topic, and I hope they have gained from it. Okay, that is my pleasure. That is, if they had gained, that is my pleasure, and let me know everything from them, so that if there is any doubt, they can either mail me. Okay, I'll respond to it. That's all, Asai. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving your valuable insights on the topic. And it was indeed a great presentation, and I hope you all have found it useful. And thank you for making it a spectacular day with your presence. And I would also like to express a heartfelt thanks to the Department of Physics for organizing this webinar. I would like to invite Halima Rinsi to give away a word of thanks.
Good afternoon to all. I am thanking the resource person, Mrs. Rinsha V. Ma'am to giving such a good class to us. It is very helpful and useful to us to knowing about rectifiers using MATLAB. It is really a thought-provoking class to us, and we are new to this topic, and I think this is actually good for us to for in coming days in helping and making good classes for us. And thank you for the Physics Department of Siloam Salam Science College, Areekode, for conducting such a national webinar class on this and making a successful one. And I'm a patient, and I'm thanking all of the audience for patiently listening to the class and asking good questions to ma'am and clearing their doubts according to their doubts. Thank you all.